Okay, so now we've talked about AI queries custom extension capabilities and how they can extend the functionality of OS query to virtually infinite tables or anything you want. And we gave the specific example of parsing semi-structured log data, making it fully structured and centralized, saving you a ton of time in troubleshooting. But what about configuration files? And I'm not talking about configuration files like that configuration file, which is our configuration file, neat, simple, clean. I'm talking about configuration files like that configuration file, which is Datadog's actual configuration file, which roughly constitutes 3,400 lines of code with a ton of comments, a bunch of commented out configurations. How exactly would you be able to parse that effectively at scale to ensure that all of your Datadog agents are functioning as expected? Well, AI Query's got you covered. Let's hop in the tech and show you how. All right, so managing your config files at scale can be a little bit difficult, but also wildly important to ensure all your applications across your environment are functioning as expected and there isn't any sort of misconfigurations, which can often lead to application issues, potential breaches, things of that nature. So for this example, we're actually using Datadog, very commonly used tool, super helpful, really cool, lots of depth, and that's why we picked it, because the config file, as we can see here, is quite verbose. And for anyone wondering, no, it's not my actual Datadog API key. Of course, I changed that. But if we go all the way down, we can see there's 3,600 lines. And as we can see, there's a ton of comments, which is helpful because as somebody who's bad at commenting their code, it's very easy to figure out what each of these configurations do. But we don't want to pull in each of those comments. We actually just want the actual keys themselves. So we've done that. We've added it to our API for custom extensions, which has generated us the Golang code associated, which again, this will be added to the UI. Right now, it's just the API. We're getting there. Stay tuned for that video. But then I've gone ahead and compiled the actual binaries needed. So we have Datadog config right here. And then now all we need to do is take it over to AI query and upload our binaries, which again, this can work for third-party extensions if you already had a third-party extension that parses config files or anything like that. But in this case, we're just going to use Datadog. I have it on a couple machines here, so I'm going to specify a Mac and then a Windows device. And let's upload the applicable binaries right here. Bum, ba, ba. And then the Mac one, and then we'll hit next. So as these are uploading, again, this is creating the actual extension. So what we'll need to do now is add in the schema. So I will do that manually, but then cut this part from the video. So transition now. All right, and there, just like magic, boom. Out of nowhere that quickly, I was able to type all these things with barely fat fingering, and we have our extension schema. So now we're going to go ahead and let's test the extension. We'll specify a target agent. We'll just use my machine for this one, and we'll hit deploy. Giving it just a moment here and it should deploy just in seconds. So there we go. And again, we can see the actual log files just to confirm successful deployment. And then we're going to run a quick test query within our sandbox. Once again, this is a sandbox environment, so everything gets uninstalled once you leave here. This is just for basic testing without any other variables of anything else loaded into the agent. So you can confirm, hey, this was able to deploy effectively. And as we're seeing right here, it was able to actually return results as expected, a brief sample of results. So now that we're good to go, we're going to hit publish. And now that it's published, let's go on over, check out our published extensions. Again, if you left at any point there, it'd be under drafts, but under published extensions, we'll check out our Datadog config right here. And then we'll see deployments, we'll see none. So let's go ahead and actually specify some devices to deploy this bad boy to. So we're going to take my machine. We'll just take these top three right here, a couple Windows, Mac, and just a moment, it should be deployed to those systems. And there we go, success. We can see the logs for each of them. But now we have this. Next step, let's go on ahead and actually run a query against those devices for that table. All right, so here we are within our create query page. I've already gone ahead and populated the table that we've created via our custom extension right there, as well as given it a title and selected the three devices from which we've deployed our custom extension. So now all we want to do is execute that query and check out the results. So we're over here on our query results page. I'll hit refresh and there we go. We already have all the results coming in from our three devices. And I don't know about you all, but the very first thing that jumps out to me, other than the nice simple format, is the number of rows being 1,635. If you recall, when I showed you the configuration files, it had roughly 3,600 and change for a single configuration file, that number of lines. But what this is showing, because this is across three devices and three devices total roughly half of just one, and it's because of the fact that we've stripped out all of the needless comments that are super useful when you're going ahead and making those configurations. But right here, if you're trying to just sanity check and ensure all the configurations are the same across the board, you don't need that additional commentary. So instead, take it, make it nice and structured. And then what we can do now that we've simplified to only that which we care about, we can actually look at which ones are active. So these are all potential configuration fields and potential values. but as you can see, they're false, meaning that they're commented out. So what I can do is I can sort right here in this active field and only show the ones that are true, or show the ones that are true at the top of the list. So we can see that these are the configurations that are actively working within the actual Datadog agent based on the configuration file. So while that's all helpful, and again, I don't have that many, so I could easily parse it. But if this is across an environment, say you have a bunch of different configurations, or maybe you just have a bunch of different devices, you may want to filter that down even further. And that's where you can use our dynamic filtering to specify the field. And let's say I want to look for TLS as an example. So anything containing TLS. And here we can see actually all of the configurations that are available for TLS. But we can see at the top, we have 3 right here for true, that are true. And so we can see they're all minimum TLS version for the actual agent. And we can see here we have TLS 1.2, TLS 1.2, and TLS 1.0. So obviously that is not ideal right here, because unless this is a legacy application or a legacy device requiring TLS 1.0 for whatever reason, we don't want that. We want to ensure that the minimum is 1.2. So now we've identified a misconfiguration within our actual application due to the custom extension creation. And what's the next step? Well, of course, you may have guessed it. Let's go ahead and fix that. So that's where we're going to use LiveShell and remote into that device. All right, and here we are remoted into the actual target device that has the misconfiguration, the TLS 1.0. Next step, let's get to the actual location of the config file just for reference. So in case you missed it on the actual query itself, it had the path to the config file for reasons just like this. If you identified a misconfiguration, know exactly where you need to go and what file you need to edit to actually alter it. So excuse my cat. She just hears me talking and is like, oh my God, you're available now. But it was in program data, Datadog, and then if we ls, boom, there we have it, the datadog.yaml config file. So now what we'll want to do is we can ask AI for help right here and say, hey, let's just verify what we saw, confirm the TLS 1.0 existing within that YAML. Yes, I did copy and paste this over from a notepad that I have on my other screen, because I cut this video because I tried typing it like 3 different times and fat fingered it every single time and figured nobody wanted to see that. So as we can see right here, boom, confirmed, minimal TLS version is 1.0. So perfect, that's exactly what we're looking for. Now let's go ahead and rectify that. So what we can do is, once again, let's ask AI and once again, copy and paste over so I don't fat finger, to say, hey, change the minimum TLS version within the file from 1.0 to 1.2 to make sure it's working across the board. So right here, we'll just copy this on over and and hit enter, and boom, that should be good. Now, last thing, let's go ahead and verify exactly what we saw before. And good, we have no longer seen any of the TLS 1.0. And if I wanted to, just for funsies, I can go ahead and change it to TLS 1.2 and confirm, boom, minimum TLS version is 1.2. So again, trying to showcase the power of custom extensions. That's not only for log files, but on top of that, you actually have configuration files. Sorry, my cat's losing her mind over here. You can parse configuration files regardless of how dense they are, so you can ensure all your applications are operating as expected and have all of the optimal configurations desired, and edit them accordingly if you do identify any out of scope. So again, the versatility of extensions is virtually unmatched, and there's so much you can do with it. Wanted to pick Datadog because it's a practical example, it's a widely used tool, and is a very complex config file. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any additional suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, check out the rest of our content on our LinkedIn and YouTube, and catch you all next time. See ya.